conflict started, when the demonstration started, there was not much of destruction of cultural heritage, so the attention was for the people, because it was demonstrations, it was confusion, things, so the international community presented it as people dying for liberty, for objection, for whatever political things. This continued in 2012 with some minor destruction started in cultural heritage due to the conflict. But the international media did not give any attention in 2012. You can find in the whole year, because we collect these articles and we document it and we make statistics. I mean, all over the year, if you say 1,000 articles written about Syria, you find maybe 5 or 6 written about cultural heritage in 2012 only. Despite the world did not born yesterday, we have Second World War catastrophe, we have many First World War, and we should learn from our past that any conflict would result in not only humanitarian disaster, but also cultural heritage disaster, but no raising of attention in that aspect. In the year of 2013 and 14, now the attention started to be better for the bene culturali, and they started to call it the collateral damage. It's not primary damage, collateral, secondary damage of the guerra, which is a good sign that the international community media started to get involved more and more, and then it became better and better to deal with this. But I believe that that's because of 1 or 2 reasons. Social media and activists, they started to push information on YouTube, on Facebook, on Twitter, on destruction of cultural heritage, which in its turn pushed the international media to take its initiative to demonstrate it on a professional level with bringing facts, because now they have material, photos, imagery, videos to present. So that was the beginning of how so for that reason, we need in any conflict to keep contact with the activists, with the cultural heritage specialists who are inside, because they are our reference and they are our source for information. So a little bit the situation changed. But 2015 was extremely unbelievable, and it was a big change in the scale of dealing by the international community about what's going on. And we have 2 shifts in 2015, that the international concern focused largely on the heritage rather than people. In the case of Palmyra, for example, when the Syrian army withdrew, nobody started to talk that in the international media of concern, nobody was afraid what will happen to those people will go under the control of ISIS, but you find Palmyra, bene culturali, Palmyra, history, Palmyra, heritage, Palmyra, and nobody gave, the amount is upside down. It's totally reversed. And check, go back, Google, whatever, you will find most of the articles, 95% is about the cultural heritage, which is, again, we repeat the mistake, we make something more important than something not only less important. So this is one of the first shifts that, as we know, on May 21st, Palmyra followed Ramadi in Iraq, became under ISIS, or the Mosul also, and the black flag was waving on Palmyra. The world has no idea what happened in Palmyra in the last 48 hours. I will show you here what happened in Palmyra in the last 48 hours before ISIS. Because there was a lot of articles, or is the objects of Palmyra safe or not? Because in the Palmyra Museum we have hundreds of objects, and we don't know, the world has no idea what happened.
Ho avvisato, ma ho detto che non in stand-by, che basta aspettare. Mi ha detto che riattivandolo dal PC.
Voglio staccare il cavo video e riattaccare.
Lo richiamo.
Questo è un po' spento.
That's all.
No, non si riattiva. Sta chiamando. Ok, grazie. Arriva da me.
Allora sto chiamando. No, ci sarà un problema qualche volta settimana per scrivere il
Dovrebbe esserci
Okay, so we can go back to the so the second shift is that the international concern focused on largely on the cultural heritage personnel, the people. Since the conflict 4 years in Syria started, nobody was talking, or very few, 1 or 2 articles all over the year, about the people the monuments met, who are inside. In Syria, the Department of Antiquities and the Museum, they have 2,500 employees, like come Superintendenza here in Italy, the Directorate of Antiquities and the Museums in Syria. The total number is 2,500 people. I mean, those are people who are like any person working, civilians. They work for the protection of archaeological sites, museums, the heritage of the nation and the country. And there was no attention given to those people at all. And to be honest, I mean, they have been suffering from the war like any other person. And they are still having their responsibility towards the country, and they have to perform in the best way as much as they can. I mean, if you are just a normal person, you can, in the time of war, you make your luck. Okay.
Ok. Grazie.
So, in the last 48 hours, people, they have been asking, what happened to the objects in the Museum of Palmyra? Because we have a Mosul Museum, which was under the control of ISIS, and they damaged or they smashed with the hammers, everything. So there was unknown information about what happened to these hundreds of great objects in the Palmyra. The Department of Antiquity in Damascus, May 21 is the collapse of Palmyra to ISIS. But primo May, they gave order from Damascus to Palmyra Museum to take all the objects from the magazines, because in the 2013 and 2014, 2 or 3 years ago, all the objects from the Syrian museum put in boxes and hidden in safe places, in museum itself, outside in central banks or unknown places. So the order for the museum in Palmyra, bring all the objects from the magazines and make it ready to be shipped to outside of Palmyra for safety. Because they did this same thing in Deir el-Zor Museum, another museum in Syria, They sent helicopters, the Syrian army. They took all the, I will show you on the map where is their zone. They shipped all the objects by helicopters to the capital, Damascus, before the arrival of ISIS. And they prepared everything at the entrance of the museum, and Department of Antiquity contacted the Army, Minister of Defense. Our objects are ready to send helicopters to ship out of Palmyra. No response from the Army. Communication, no response. Believe me, when I was in the Department of Antiquity in Damascus, it's not easy to deal with military people in peacetime. How could be in wartime? They are difficult in hard people in peacetime. So they are harder, more difficult. So they could not communicate with them, and there was a big fear. What will happen to the objects inside Palmyra Museum if ISIS will arrive? No response. Now let's see what happened. On the 7th of May, on the 21st of May, ISIS came, and some few days after that, ISIS produced a report, photo report. They are very advanced in media and social media, unfortunately, and they are using their propaganda, and unfortunately, we help them to promote their propaganda. As soon as ISIS or any extremist organization, they put a video or photos online, you'll find it goes viral, very quick. So we are working as a machine to serve those organizations unintentionally. So they made a report, we can see in the up photos how the flag put here, and so it's under the control of ISIS. And then they killed 25 soldiers from the Syrian army. They killed them in the theater of Palmyra, where it was the best place for a lot of people, where this festival of Palmyra every year, dancing group, festivals, ceremonies from all over the world happens in this theater. Now it's a theater for different type of performance, the performance of one side. So, and then they started their propaganda by demonstration, these reports that they are governing Palmyra, and nobody knows what will happen to Palmyra. Everybody, media is very concerned, reports cultural heritage, culturally, and nobody talk one word about the people of Palmyra, what will happen to them. So as you see here, this is Palmyra, and here, and the other museum which I mentioned is here, there is Zohar, which where they shipped the objects by helicopters from here to Damascus, the capital, in 2014. Thousands of objects taken to safe place outside. So the major sites of Palmyra, as we can see, we have the ancient city, we have the temples, we have tower tombs. In that time, it was still safe, and they produced an announcement that they will not touch the archaeological places, but they will destroy the idols or the statues. But they have not been correct. I mean, they did something else later on. The Palmyra is one of the 7 Syrian sites listed on the World Heritage List, and it was listed in the year of 1980. The numbers here are not the correct ones, and here the number is right. So, and it was on the World Heritage List, and it has been listed among the 48 properties under real danger in the 2014 as well in the world. In the conflict in 2013, 2015, it was exchange clash between the two sides, the government or regime troops and the opposition. So it also, there was damage, but it was minor, not major. And then a huge looting and illicit trafficking started from Palmyra, and money started to be made out of Palmyra. But nobody knows exactly how much is this money. One of the tombs with 25 of these has been looted, and we don't know yet where is these objects. We have documentation, we have everything. I mean, this is just, I'm showing you some examples, a lot of cases like this. the catastrophe is a huge. But this is just one tomb where 22 busts of this, what you see here, stolen, and nobody knows where it is now. It will float in the market later on, in 5 years, in 10 years, in auction houses, in private collections. Everything is possible. The neighboring countries, Turkey, Jordan, Lebanon, and Iraq, they confiscate objects, but they are not very collaborative with Syria. This is an important issue for the neighboring countries of conflict zone. If the neighboring countries will be collaborating, this will reduce the damage for the country. If here from this area I have a drugs and I know that I can take it from that gate, I will do it. But if you block that gate, I will try from the other. If this will be blocked too, that means no way. That means you will reduce the amount of damage. So international community should give more attention on the border area. I mean, I'm talking about cultural heritage, I'm not talking about smuggling of weapons, which is worse. I mean, through neighboring countries, I mean, they send to Syria weapons now from the neighboring, but in the same time, now it's an exchange. Give me antiquity, I give you weapons. So this is an important issue for the neighboring countries. For the routes of smuggling, we have two major routes for smuggling these antiquities. We have the northern route going through Turkey. We can see how the objects, and we have the other famous route through Lebanon. This route is not working very well now because of the Lebanese. They are controlling more. In the past, in peacetime, it was better. I mean, it's the reverse now, but most of the routes now is the objects going through the northern route, through Turkey, and then flying from Turkey to the west. Just to clear one point, if somebody dig an object inside Syria or Iraq, let's say this is an object, the price will be 5 euros inside 5 meters from the dig place, from this. The more the objects travel, the price get higher. So we have to indicate for that those who are digging are not making big money like the people are trading. Who is it trading? Outside. The market, the black market is trading, and even, I mean, I'm afraid that some of this will appear in the auction houses one day. So the money, if this is 5, that means you have to multiply it with 100 when it reaches or Turkey, then 100 again when it reaches Switzerland or different markets or the auction houses or private collections. Now they will not send it to auction houses because it's still fresh and obvious. So the more the objects per kilometer, 1 euro for every kilometer, it's like pure machina, exactly. The more it travels, the more it's increased the price. And a lot of investigations, media made, like the Independent, the BBC, they made with looters and smugglers, how they technique, and they recorded a lot of their things, and we have evidences about this trade. But as I said, we don't have exact number of the financial income. If it's the second revenue after petrol or the third, nobody has an idea about that. The United Nations, the Security Council issued the decision or the resolution 2199 in February, which forbid the illicit trafficking of Syria and Iraq. But what have we done since 2003? Because there was a previous resolution for Iraq about the trade of antiquity. But what we have done since 2003 about Iraq to do with this? I mean, it's just we sit in big groups and we start weeping and crying and condemning, but there is no practical actions by tightening these gaps. The Museum of Palmyra, which I told you, this is the objects which was in the Museum of Palmyra. Hundreds of these objects and busts. We don't need this one. This is the packing, how they pack the objects and prepare it for shipping, and then the idea of how to ship these objects. As I told you, the Department of Antiquity in Damascus called Ministry of Defense in order to supply helicopters to ship. They did not respond. When they could not do anything, they called Palmyra and they told them, put the objects in 4 or 5 of these lorries and send it to Damascus directly. But the problem, the road from Palmyra to Damascus is not safe. And you cannot send these objects without armed guardians to protect it. So it was horrible 2 weeks. I've been communicating with my friends and colleagues in Palmyra. They are worried. They cannot do anything, and they have their lives first. The life is very important. I mean, if you cannot protect your life, you can't protect the bene culturali. It's impossible. So we should concentrate first of all about the humanitarian side in the conflict, the normal humanitarian and the life of the bene culturali personnel, because they are the guardians of this treasure. And so they could not do anything at all. For that, in the morning of this is the situation in Palmyra in 20 May, how the ISIS was controlling and the Syrian army was controlling the other part. This is the afternoon in 20 of May, how it was the situation. In the 21st in the morning, something changed, happened, surprised. The Syrian army secretly withdrew from Palmyra. In the morning of 21st of May, they withdrew from Palmyra, leaving the city to face its destiny under the control of the Black Flag. But what happened to the objects? What happened to the archive, the civilian archive, the paper, the courts, everything? That was the good thing they did. They shipped the army, they shipped everything with them. In the night between 20 and 21st May, they went to the museum with cars, in big cars. They put all these objects in military vehicles and they withdrew in the direction of Damascus. This was not known until some days after that. But, I mean, we saved the objects. This is the Museum of Palmyra after the withdrawal of the army, how it was flat and it was rockets. But they saved the objects in the final moment, in the last night before day. But what will happen to other cities? We saved Palmyra, objects, but not monuments. I mean, let's imagine a bit bad scenario. Let's say Palmyra all gone. Forget about Palmyra. Palmyra is part of the past. Is Syria only Palmyra? No. We have a lot of hundreds of archaeological sites, important as Palmyra. But Palmyra is famous because of its international level. We have Bosra, we have Apamea, Mari, Ugarit, Dura Europos. We have a lot of sites. But is the end of the story is the end of Palmyra? But as well, is the next only in Syria? It may not be in Syria also. It may be the next outside of Syria. So this terror could travel outside of the region because idea is not a material you can catch by hand. It's transparent thing which travels outside. So the destruction could reach any point in the world. And I remember there was a Twitter hashtag, "We are coming Rome," how it's called, or something like that. "We are coming Rome." It was very well in the last year, the beginning of this year, hashtag on Twitter. So, I mean, every part of the world is not safe or is not in a... Okay, I go back to the speech. So I presented for you the last 48 hours how they saved the Palmyra objects, but in the same time, this is just save of one museum collection. So we did not see a video like what happened in Mosul Museum. Otherwise, you will see another video of smashing these objects. The types of destruction in Syria or damage in these 4 years, we have unfortunately all types of, we have illicit digging of archaeological sites. We have the pillage of archaeological sites, violation and using big machines, bulldozers. They are using it to dig the archaeological sites in certain areas. We have the loss of personnel. The people, they work in the cultural heritage. 10 of them died in the last 4 years by the war. And the problem, many people are fleeing out of the country. They go outside of Syria because they want to escape, they want to survive. I mean, so who is going to protect this? Of course, the Department of Antiquity in Damascus, they hire directly new people. But those new people are very fresh. They never been to excavations. They have no experience about how to hold an object, archaeological objects in a museum. So they have not enough training. So we have leak in the personnel, in the human source. So this is another problem on the academic level and the professional level. So you lose the archaeological sites and you lose the specialists who are working in the cultural heritage properties. And another problem, we started to find online illicit trafficking in online markets for the objects from Syria and Iraq. So people using eBay or using similar websites, they started to sell objects, fresh objects coming from that market. It's difficult to trace a fresh object because it has no records. If we have object from museum in Roma, Milano, and it's stolen directly by the Carabinieri unit, they have the special program. So don't remember the special. It's a great program. They have it, the CTP. So they directly announce it and they send also to the Interpol, so all the world will know that we lost this object because we have the photo, we have the documents, the publications. So it's very easy. But when a new object coming from the fresh soil, it's difficult because we have no records to say it came from this side, from that side, or another side. So this is another problem, which is the illicit, the online market. As I said, what does it mean? Kesigniva to be cultural heritage personnel. Let's talk about here and there. I will not start with you. For example, you are cultural heritage personnel and we have another person in Damascus. The cultural heritage personnel in Damascus, Aleppo, any city in Syria, it means to wake up after a midnight, after a night of bombardment. This is what's going on. So you cannot sleep. You have 2 hours of electricity every day. You have 4 hours of water every week. The water comes in your tap only 3-4 hours every week. Okay? It means to have no communication, no mobile, no things. It means that being targeted to snipers. In some areas, I visited my friends last year, 2014, in Aleppo Museum. I have to cross the road near the museum because there is a sniper. If the sniper will find you, will hit you. This is fact. The people, they do that. I mean, I've seen that with my eyes, and there is the Wall Street Journal report showing that by video online. It's unbelievable how people, they risk their life to continue because they want to survive, they want to live. It's a long process. And also, if you go from house to work, you have checkpoints, military checkpoints, maybe 15 or 20 going and 15 and 20 coming back. So this is all the types of things and the fear of being